Hello, CX Arabia. We have a special guest today. Hi, Bruce.
Hi, CX Arabia.
Hi. Bruce, I'm very glad that we have you with us. Just to introduce you to our audience, whoever don't know you, although I doubt, you are the godfather of the CX as what they called you. You have established the customer experience in the name and the shape that we have it. And we have a lot of stories. To introduce you, you have more than 30 years of experience. Most of them were in the customer experience. You started with the initial names and terminologies with the Forester, how you established the new, I would say, big names, or what you said at big ideas on that time, maybe 20 years ago, like customer journey, customer experience-based, enterprise-based customer journey, and all these technologies about the experience. Then you have your own company, which is the group Temkin group, and you started the Experience Matter, and you were the one who co-founded the CXPA, and we would love to hear about it. And you are the one who called it CX, unified the naming and terminologies instead of all the namings. Then you have just merged with the SAP and the Qualtrex under the XM Institute. Then it was acquired by SAP and a lot of things. And now you have the new humanity at scale. If you need to add anything else, Bruce, to the introduction to our audience.
Oh, so that's only a part of my career. If we wanted to spend hours and hours, we could go back to the beginning when I was an engineer building submarine systems, but that would bore the audience. So I think you got the important parts.
Excellent. And what looking to the customer experience over all this time, and personally, I'm 20 years. I spent 20 years of my career in the customer service, past 15 years in customer experience. I used to search the internet 15, 16 years ago. I found Temkin Group and CXP on that time. What happened? How you see the customer experience from where we started till today, especially that you have co-founded an idea which is called the CXPA, and now it is a huge idea. It's all over all the world, although a lot of people and players there, but you are the one who shaped out what we have. How you see the customer experience between that time, this time, going to the CXPA and to the Temkin Group and XM, if you can tell us a little.
Yeah. So I'll once again I can be a long storyteller, but I'll try and keep it somewhat tight. I think if I go back to 2002, so that's 20 some odd years ago.
Yeah.
I was at Forrester Research, and I wrote a report, Forget About CRM, Focus on Customer Experience. So I was leading the CRM practice at Forrester, doing it, and I heard about all of the companies that were really upset with the amount of money they were spending and the lack of success they were having around their CRM projects. And I felt at that time that the thing that was missing was the focus on customers, not the internal. They were focusing too much internally on projects and technology. So from 2002 to now, I've been on a push to get organizations to think about customers. And then, over time, what happened at Forrester's, I wrote a lot about customer experience, and I got followed a lot. So I had a blog since 2007, Customer Experience Matters, that I think you referenced and you looked at. So I've been writing a lot. And then about 2008, I realized that customer experience needed more structure than it had. And I'll tell you the one moment when I really figured it out. I was at an event, a Forrester event, and this was before anyone knew what voice of the customer meant as a program. People knew voice of the customer. You listen to the customer, sure, you have their voice. But there was no such thing as a voice of the customer program. So I was at an event, and I just said, we need more voice of the customer programs. And someone asked, well, what are elements of voice of the customer program? So I started to go through, and I created this structure called LEARN. Listen, interpret, respond, and monitor. Right. So, and I'll tell you the truth, I made it up on stage, right?
Uh-huh.
Because they asked me what it was. I didn't have it already, but I'm pretty good on my feet. So I said, okay, here are the elements. Listen, interpret, respond. And I went through it. And the reason I knew I had hit a chord was that everyone in the audience took up their pens and pencils, right? This is before iPhones, right? Took up their pen and were taking notes, like 100% of the audience as I was going through listen, interpret, respond, and monitor. And
it was a new methodology now. It's created.
Yeah, exactly. Out of nowhere. But it was, to me, it was the thirst of the audience to have some structure around the things that they were doing. Because at that time, there were a bunch of people who were struggling and trying to do the same things, the stuff that I had called customer experience, but they didn't think of themselves as being customer experience professionals. They didn't realize other people were doing similar things, and they were all doing it in different ways. So that really sparked in me that there was an opportunity for a community to come together and to share best practices and learn from each other, instead of what was happening when I was at Forrester, which was, at that point, was I'd have individual discussions with companies.
Yeah.
And they'd ask me the exact same questions. The exact same question here.
So you wanted to scale it out.
Exactly.
Collect people and have them all together just to have it.
Yeah, because I felt like that in order for customer experience to really take off, there needed to be a collective consciousness about what this practice is and sharing. So shortly after that, I left. I created Temkin Group, my company, because there was a lot of demand for the things that I wanted to do. And then in 2010, well, I started to focus on, shortly after I created Temkin Group, I started to build out a plan around the CXPA, the Customer Experience Professional Association.
And it was created out of this community, the need. You found it that there is need for this kind of collaboration and alignment between everyone, just to align on the framework that we have, the 6 competencies, and how we scale it. I think this is the reason, Bruce, right? People, they used to do CX, but they don't know what customer experience. What is this in general? How we can do it? Used to know it as a customer service, customer relationship management, or CRM. There was nothing called CX on that time, or even CX is not created yet. You could just said, let's have it CX, not CEX, not CRM. Just call it CX, right?
So there was, there were a lot of people doing somewhat similar, but not learning from each other. And I think of it, so I use like the medical community. I think of a lot of analogies. The medical community was an analogy to me, which is that that medicine really took off when they decided to do structured trials, right? And structured approaches, right? Because when every doctor around the world was doing their own thing, which was, 15, 20 years ago, that's the way it was. There was no collective learning, right? Individuals would learn, but no collective learning. So what I realized is if we really wanted to grow the practice of CX, we had to have some commonality, right? So we could talk to each other and share. And part of the commonality for the first CXPA meeting, I stood up to the community and said, we have to stop calling this thing different stuff. Some people called it CXP, Customer Experience Professionals. Some called it CXM, Customer Experience Management. Someone called it CEM. I said, okay, let's start with one term for what we do, CX. Let's do that. And that way we can all call ourselves customer experience professionals, CX professionals.
Perfect.
And so if we start calling ourselves, then something amazing happened. And to me, this is a lesson that's broader than CXPA and broader than CX, which was once we created commonality of CX, and we called everyone who was doing it, started to think of themselves as customer experience professionals. Once that happened, they were willing to share with each other more than they ever did in the past. So, if I was doing CX and I was in a bank in Saudi Arabia, right, then I might think of myself, I'm part of that bank. I'm not going to share with anyone else. I'll share with people inside my bank because those are the people I'm a part of. But once people saw themselves as CX professional, someone in a Saudi Arabian bank may share with someone even in a US bank or a US manufacturer or a London-based, retailer, right?
Yeah.
The sharing expanded because now you felt like you were part of this global community where other people had common interests with you. And so the ability to create a common view and a common sense of community really expanded sharing, which was central to, I think, the CX movement.
And I like the idea of this commonality and how we make this community speaking to each other. I found a lot of people all around the globe, I would say. Now, talking about customer experience from here, I have friends in maybe most of the countries today talking about customer experience from this concept that was created and co-founded there. And then I think this is what we can see today. A lot of people talking about CX. We have a huge movement on CX in our region between governments and even private sector, and it's going on a very high scale. The point is, I remember every year you used to have this theme of the year of humanity, year of trust, year of emotions, year of, you used to tell us how, and you guided us all over the world on this year theme. So it's like a journey of learning, because I learned a lot during this journey, year after year, how you just injected this science and how we aligned all together to speak about it. And I remember this year, Davos, we're talking about the year of trust, while I remember XM just said that this is the year of trust before even Davos on that time. So I don't know what it's related, but it's spreading out. It's going contagious a lot, and everyone is talking about the same. And now you just created, maybe 5-6 years ago, you created the XM concept, experience management, to move from CX to experience management all over. And then now you have a humanity at scale. So what's the difference? How we get to XM, and then how we are in humanity at scale, because it's all related, but it's going too big. And I remember your farewell speech as well, talking about this one. So we can highlight a little bit about XM, then humanity at scale.
Yeah. That's great. So when my company, Temkin Group, was acquired by Qualtrics in 2010. In 2018. 2018, yeah. 2010 we created it. I'm back there, yeah. And Qualtrics, at that point in time, had terminology around experience management. So to be honest with you, we actually ended up shifting what amounted to be our focus around customer experience into new terminology, because they were the acquiring company. And also what we had seen was that Qualtrics was starting to dominate a lot of the marketing and communication. So we felt like we were still wanted to influence the world and help the world get better at this practice. And so we adopted that terminology, experience management. And the way to think about experience management is, if you think about customer experience, there's an underlying set of skills. You have to listen to people. You have to understand. We'll go back to that learn. You have to listen, interpret, right? We've changed our model since the learn days. But if you think about that underlying thing, that capability can work with different audiences, not just customers. It can work. You got to do the same thing with your employees. You got to do the same thing with your suppliers. You got to do the same things with your distributors. So if you think about that underlying capability, that's what we think of as experience management. And then it gets applied to different audiences. So when it's applied to customers, it's customer experience. When it's applied to employees, it's employee experience. But experience management is the underlying set of capabilities.
Excellent.
So that's XM. And I was at Qualtrics for 5 years. And for me personally, I loved my job at Qualtrics. I loved my team who's still there. They're still awesome. The best team on, if you're listening, the best team on earth, I think, is still my team back at the XM Institute. But for me, I felt like I needed to do more for the world than what I was personally doing. I loved what I was doing, but I wanted to take what I had learned, my skills, my knowledge, whatever ability I have to influence people, and take it to a higher level. And that's where I realized that for my next gig, for my next chapter, I really wanted to think about how I could raise humanity. And the idea of humanity at scale came, which is the goal of humanity at scale is to influence people to understand humans, to be able to build systems that better serve everyone. And I'm not yet sure where I'm going to focus exactly. Systems include things like governments, like companies, like families, every place where there's a set of people interacting needs to be better. And one last thing I'll say about that is it's grown out of my belief that humanity is not where any of us want it to be. I believe I've traveled the world. I've had the luxury of traveling the world to speak to people about experience management and customer experience. And I think as I travel the world, we are globally aligned on believing that we can all be better than we are right now.
I totally agree. And I wish you all the best, because we all need it. We talk about the humanity in overall, globally, to be equally, have the bright experience, to have the goodwill, to give the good things from the first time. This is, I think, for me, if you ask me as my definition, I think we need all to be equal. We need all to have this opportunity of providing the best service to everyone, at home, at school, at everywhere. And we need to have this kind of no bad intentions, no hard feelings, just to start doing this, because we need to live as a humans together. And we're built in all, I would say, concepts based on love and sharing. This is what we need to have. So we support you. Hopefully you will reach it, and I'm sure that you will influence it.
Yeah, and I would say on that, it's interesting. So I think last year I probably traveled to at least 30 countries throughout Asia and Europe and Middle East, right?
We met in Dubai as well.
Yeah, Dubai being one of the places. And in all of my stops, I would say the conversations I had with people were almost identical, right? People cared about their families. People wanted to make a living. People wanted to figure out how to better succeed. So they certainly all wanted to know how to, and we'll go back into maybe some trends in CX. They want to understand where CX was heading, what they needed best. But it really impressed upon me that no matter where I was in the world, the individual in front of me was having the same conversation that I was having with people in all other parts of the world.
Impressive.
Right? We are all so much more alike than we let on. And I think we share so many common goals that it's important for us to remember that and bring that into how we view the world and how we view other people.
Hopefully you will succeed in your mission. I see this loneliness report globally from even a global bank, World Economic Forum. They said that people are feeling more lonely, although we are more connected. So we need this kind of humanity and interactions. Interesting to see this. We discuss always the pains are similar, but the names are different. This is what we see across countries. Hopefully we will have something better. Now going to the topic of CX, how you see the evolution during your past journey. You have traveled all over the world. You deal with a lot of people. You have a lot of, or say, internal and external resources, communications. So how you see customer experience revolution during this years, where we were and how we are today and where we are going, maybe?
So I would probably describe the big evolution in two dimensions. One is how we think about insights, and the second, how we think about the output that we do, right? And I talk about just those two and how we evolve. So when I first started to look at CX, I would say insights across organizations were periodic, right? They, we would, if you wanted to learn something about an audience, about customers, right, you would issue some sort of a project. And some people had satisfaction studies where they do it every year or every 2 years, right? But pretty much if you wanted to find out something about customers, you'd have a project, you go do some research, and the output of that would be some report that would be shared with a handful of people, right? That's the way insights were. Where we're going is where insights are actually distributed into the hands of people that can do something with it, right? And it's continuous. So we go from periodic to continuous insights, where insights, instead of ending in that PowerPoint deck, end up being transferred into people in the hands of people that can take action on it. So that's one dimension, the move from periodic insights to continuous insights. The other dimension is what we view as customer experience or experience management professionals as our output. It used to be we believed and we focused on our output being the insight itself, right? Our job is to just deliver insight. I think what we're evolving into is that our role is as a strategic enabler, and we need to figure out how do we fuse the insights that come and make them more relevant, more valuable, and more action enabling than we've done in the past. So I believe that where we're going is, and our focus used to be on the customers and understanding them. And that's still important. But what's becoming more important is we need to understand the insight consumers, the people using the insights, and what they need and how we empower their actions. So the shift of our output has gone from solely on customers to, I think, much more, where we're going much more balanced, with a heck of a lot more focus on the people using the insights and how we enable them to be successful.
Excellent. I have one comment here, maybe as well, just to add on actionable insights, because we always focusing, maybe in our region, we focus on the voice of customer, the CX, the CXI index in general, and we are not focusing on the real insights. We are consuming data. We don't have any kind of actionable. So I always say that we need to have an actionable insights. We need to action these insights that will make a difference so we can change it. So what you said about focus shifting from customers, insights on customers, to be insights on consumers focused, just to know which people in the organization will be able to use this data and to action it. This is the most important. How we can ensure it, how we can use the data technology that we have today, because I see people are distracted with these trends, like these CX trends. We started with insights building. I don't know if you need to add any point about the current CX, or can we go to the insights building, how we consume data. I see too many software providers today, some of them social media analysis, some operational, some processes. But we don't see this, and we focus to get all the technologies, but we are not focusing on the integration to get what you said, actionable insights, or what is insights that we can use them. And now we are busy with the Gen AI, and all these new trends. So how we can handle, because I think people jumping before they stabilize and focus on the basics. What you see?
So I think, and Gen AI is an interesting one, but let's talk about technology in general. The role of technology, right, is to always be introducing new things so that they're shiny enough that they get the attention of people across the organization to buy them, right? So that's always been technology, right? As soon as people get ready with one, there's a new one, right? And so what that does is that takes attention away. And this is the problem I saw with CRM, over 20 years ago, was that this reintroducing of new things with technology takes people attention away from the really important question. And the really important question is always, what are you trying to achieve? And the better you understand that, the better you can choose and use technology effectively. So going back to the question about how do you put all these technologies together and figure them out so that you get actionability? Well, I think you need to start with who are the people who you want to take action, and what are the decisions and information that they need to do those things better. So for instance, right, if I look at some key stakeholders often for insights, if you're a product company, there are product managers who need to understand what to build, what to create, what to sell, and how, and product marketing people, how to market it. They have a set of needs of insights, right? You have contact center leaders. You have a supervisor in a contact center who needs to understand which of my reps are doing well. What do they need to be coached on? What do I need to take action on immediately? If you're a retailer, right, a retail store owner needs to understand what are the product mixes that are working for my customers and why is it different than other stores, and what do I need to do about it? What do I need? How do I need to understand if something in my store is going wrong, whether it's an employee or there's a problem with the physical plant itself, right? You have to start with what do those people need to know to do their jobs better? And then you have to think about how do I fuel that need with insights, as opposed to, and that's the evolution I think that CX is going. We used to do, and I wouldn't say used to, this is predominantly what still happens, which is we collect a bunch of information and we try to discern things and push them to people to do something about it, instead of starting with what's their job, what are the things that they do, what types of insights will actually be actionable for them. So that's a general discussion. Well, if you have some questions, then we'll layer on a Gen AI discussion after that, because I think that's a whole different beast.
Exactly. And now, so what I understand, that we focus, as per your just what you described to us, that we need to focus on the insights and the audience who can make them actionable. I think we make some mistakes as CX practitioners within the organizations. We try to wear too many hats. We need just to defend not only voice of customer, we need to go within the internal politics and trying to go to the silos and break them in a way that we are biased toward some point of view. So what you are saying is focus always on the insights, people that we have them. It's okay to have too many reports based on the audience. So these small actions might have a collaborative impact on the customer experience, if I can summarize it this way as well.
Yeah, I think absolutely. Because if you think about when I described that where we're heading, which is all of these insights flow into the processes and workflows of organizations, then it's less about us taking insights, creating a report, and then sharing and pushing people to take action. And it's more about the insights just flow into what they're doing. A product manager, for instance, should, if we have a lean product development organization and they have to figure out what they're going to be doing, a product owner has to figure out what the sprint is going to focus on every 2 weeks or every month. The insights should just flow into how they make decisions about what features are put into the next sprint, right? Excellent. It should just flow into that workflow. And like I said, we're not there yet. No one's quite there yet, because we're still at the intermediate stage where we think the goal is to take the data for us to analyze, come up with some set of insights, and then push that to find people who are interested in taking action on it.
Excellent. Maybe before we go to the layer of Gen AI, we need to talk about C-suite in general, or shall we take the Gen AI before? What do you think?
Go either way.
So the C-suite is needed just to align, just to push people to be within their processes and daily work, right? So how we can unify the C-suite within the same audience consumers, the insights Yeah.
To me, it's there's all a same common theme, which is that in order to, and it's the same theme we have with CX, right? In customers, in order to succeed, we need to help people get what they want, right? Just that's like a human thing,
simple.
right? That's not even CX.
It's very simple terminology, but very huge, complicated, implementation to reach there, huh?
Yeah, but we sort of know that. But when it comes to like senior executives, we forget about that. We go to senior executives and we try to convince them to do things that we want, right? If I want to convince a senior executive, I start with what do they want to accomplish, and then I tailor what we do to show them how investing and supporting what I'm trying to do is going to help them achieve what they want to achieve, right? So let's take NPS. I've seen so many like CX leaders try to convince senior executives that they need to care about Net Promoter Score. They need to have Net Promoter Score on their reports, on their their
detractors and the scores here or there
and all that. And the push there is just you have to care about NPS, as opposed to if I was going to go to an executive, if I, an NPS I can go either way on. But let's say I wanted to convince a senior executive that they need to really sort of prioritize and help support the program around NPS. I'd go, okay, let's say it's the head of sales. I go, okay, what are your goals? And he'd say, well, or he or she would say, I want to double sales in 2 years. Well, I'd say, okay, let's look at that. I think in order to double sales in 2 years, I think in the data that we've shown, you need to have twice as many promoters as you do now, and that will translate into you doubling sales, right? And then let's talk about an NPS program, right? So I think the goal is for us as CX leaders and CX practitioners to position what we want to do as enablers of helping senior executives get what they want. But it starts with what they want to achieve, not what we want them to do for us.
Excellent. And you just made it simple. I think all the elements like projects, culture, program, initiative, all these will be the outcomes of the insights, understanding for how they will achieve it. This is just to have the comprehensive on all kind of activities under CX, like culture and mindset activities, programs, and all these things. Excellent. This is very good here. I need just to save the time to go to the Gen AI, and if we need to be really worried about AI, Gen AI today, or we need to wait until it's mature enough so we can jump there and when it's ready. Because in different countries, we have different, I would say, appetite to go there and different readiness as well. Sometimes we lack the basics. So how we see it?
Yeah, so I think Gen AI is maybe the most disruptive technology that I've seen in my career. And I tracked the internet to begin with, and I tracked SaaS, cloud-based computing, and I tracked iPhones, right? The reason why I think that Gen AI might be the most disruptive is that it actually creates a way for technology to interface with human beings in a natural way, right? It gives human beings access to technology without learning a different interface, right? Ultimately, it allows them to people to say what they want, talk how they want, type what they want, and get back the information. Now, it's not perfect yet. It's not there yet, but that's what it opens up, the ability to have a natural language interface with a truly natural language, not NLP, not the technology natural language, but a true natural language interface. And then to be able to tailor information to meet that needs is transforming. Now, that doesn't mean that it's available it's going to be years and years, right? Because Gen AI takes a ton of computing power, right?
Yeah.
It is very, very expensive. But what you'll see, I think, is that vendors will start to put AI capabilities inside of their technology. That's where I think it'll have a big impact. For most companies, it's not about how do you invest in AI right now for your operations per se. That's the big, but having said that, there definitely are fringe areas where every organization should be thinking about Gen AI, right? Like, for instance, and I'll tell you how I use it, right? It's, Gen AI is a great copywriter, right? A copy editor. It's a really good translator. It's really good if you want to make versions of
Video editing
for different audiences. It can be a really good writer. So I think that they're certainly in sort of distribution of content. It's incredibly valuable to look at, and it is also getting easier and easier to do some analysis in content. So, for instance, if you have a bunch of data that you want to understand, and this is for whether there's a vendor doing it or not, if you figure out how to prompt some of the public LLMs, the large language models like ChatGPT and Gemini, and you give it data and you prompt it effectively, it can actually help you with analysis. So here's my push for everyone who listens, which is it's not going to destroy your job. It's going to enable you to do more. It's not going to be transforming what you do in the next year, but I urge everyone to start using some of the Gen AI tools so that you understand how you can upskill yourself over the next few years when Gen AI becomes more and more common across more and more platforms.
Excellent. So I think you summarized it. I saw this NVIDIA CEO. He said that the Gen AI in the next 5 years, it will be an impressive revolution happening with these quantum processors and all these. I think we need to wait. We need to start using the AI. And for corporates, not to rush, because we need to fix what we have, and then we can go there when we have this maturity. Okay, thank you, Bruce, for your support and guidance all the way. Now we need to, before we conclude, we need just to check how you want us to go with your next thing, the new next big thing, how we can support, what is your vision, how we can be supportive with humanity at scale, how you are heading there. I know that you are shaping out and you have built that. So if you want to tell us about the humanity at scale and where you are heading now.
So thank you for this. Thank you for the audience around humanity at scale. One of the things that I truly believe is that if we are going to make humanity better, it's not going to be because of what I do. It's going to be because of what we collectively do. So as I'm trying to figure out where I'm going, what the direction is going to be, what I know for sure is I'm going to be asking everyone who listens to me, everyone that hears me, everyone that has followed me in the past to come with me and be a part of helping the world be a better place. So the only thing I ask of you is keep an eye on me as I start to sort out where we're going to head. And if it sparks an interest in you, as I hope it does, I would ask you to amplify what we do and to actually share the information, be a part of I think of humanity at scale as I'm figuring it out. It's hopefully going to be more of a movement than an organization or a content. And so the movement needs people who care. And one thing I know about the customer experience and the experience management community is that it is the most caring group of people that I have ever met. So I will probably be trying to tap into that caring to push the world in a better place. And like I said, I can't do it. All I can do is help spark the passion of people around the world to do something differently. And that's what I'm going to ask you to do. Listen, and if I spark an interest in you, help me make the world a better place.
We will do for sure. I always like what you do. Me, I talk a lot. I try to amplify as much as I can with other people so we can have this good positive impact. And hopefully you will succeed to achieve your goals and the target that you have with the support of everyone of the experience community. Thank you, Bruce, for this opportunity to be with us today. And we will look forward to have more and more on humanity at scale and other value added from you as we expected for the past 20 years and more. And I'm talking 20 years because of my experience. Hopefully others will have more and more.
Well, I'm hoping I have another 20 years of influence and helpfulness for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a very generous learning all the way. Thank you, Bruce, for this opportunity.
Thanks for having me.